Hey guys, got a real cool segment here that we haven't done before in our videos. Chad and Amy were nice enough to let us come over to their place and film the house, and Laurie and I have already done that walkthrough and filmed everything. But we get questions constantly on the channel about what we think about living here, buying a house here, doing all that. Well, the truth of the matter is, Laurie and I don't know. We rent here. We've been vacationing here forever, and we don't know much about buying a house here. So it was real nice of you guys to let us come into your home, agree to answer some questions that we get on our YouTube channel all the time. And I jotted some things down, and we're just going to talk about that and see if I can come up with some of the questions that people are asking us on the channel about living here. One thing that came up today, matter of fact, it was this morning. I was reading in comments, and a person put in there, the keys are not accessible for the average person. It's just too expensive and not accessible for the average person. You guys are living a dream. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it absolutely is accessible. I mean, there's all different types of homes and properties, and it just depends on what you're looking for. We started coming here in a motorhome.
Yeah.
That's how we started. We camped here essentially.
An old motorhome.
Yeah, an old motorhome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that we just kind of kept extending our stay. First it was 30 days, and then 45, and then 60, and then 90. So that's how we began the trip down here. And then when you're down here, you're constantly looking at the newspapers and the magazines, and you do a little driving around. And there's properties all over in regards to the price range, if that's what you mean by accessible. If you're going to be on the water, you're going to pay more money for that. But there's properties that are not on the water that, quite frankly, if your goal is to be here to experience it, there's things that are just as affordable as the town that we're in.
Yeah.
They're not on the water, but the things that are affordable in the other town I live in they're not on the water either.
Yeah, when I first started coming down here, probably 12 years ago, I'd get two of my best buddies from home. We'd pile in a pickup truck, come down here, find the cheapest place we could stay. I think we were staying at the Blue Waters Inn that used to be there, now that they've built something else. And I think the rent split up between the three of us was $125 a week. Mm-hmm. That was one room, and we'd slept in two beds between the three of us. Y'all gotta figure that out. Right. Grown men. Yeah. But I read that question and I was like, well, where there's a will, there's a way. And if you get down here and you see it, and these prices that we're putting on our YouTube channel, the houses that we're showing, it's a lot of money. But I think if you get down here and really start digging, there's something for everybody down here if you're just willing to make some concessions on things.
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely a different world when it comes to, if you think of it like the Caribbean that flies the American flag, if you think about your expectations of what properties are going to look like or feel like, or maybe the decor, it's going to be different from where we were up north. Right now we're 1,900 miles away from our home. So
yeah, so let's talk about that in a minute. You guys are from Wisconsin.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're just outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul. So even though we're in Wisconsin, we're typically or generally considered part of the Minneapolis, St. Paul metropolitan area.
Gotcha. So, all right, so you vacationed down here a while. You had a good idea of what was down here, why you wanted to be here. So what did that process look like when you actually pulled the trigger and said, we're going to buy a house down here? Doing it long distance that way, what did that look like for you?
I want to back up though.
Okay.
When Chad says that it's really accessible and everything, I agree and disagree with him a little bit on that. And we were thinking about buying a home or looking to buy a home earlier, and it was he wanted to come down right before Irma. Of course Irma hadn't hit yet, and I said no, we just weren't ready yet, so we needed to kind of make sure that all of our ducks were in a row. And so it was 3 years later that we actually, he was looking all along. So I don't want to say that it was a quick and easy process. It was something that we really, really took our time, and it wasn't right. And then when I said, I don't think this is the time, then it was like 2 weeks later that Irma hit, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's true.
So then we let some time pass, and then when we had our ducks in a row, then when we started really seriously looking,
Yeah.
we both started seriously looking instead of just him.
Yeah, and that process was like, it's like, okay, we both kind of agreed that we want to look into doing this, and there's a great goal. So then for me, it's like, okay, I'm gonna go get that, and in that process in my head was moving forward very, very quickly. And God bless it, the checks and balance of the way it worked out with Irma unfortunately happening 2 weeks after kind of we said, let's just put the brakes on here. But yeah, I kind of forgot about that, how there was kind of an initial, hey, let's do this. And there was a lot of support from both of us to do something. And we had looked at some different things and thought we found a property then that there were some exciting things price point wise that was good for it. It kind of, for what we were looking at price point wise, it really balanced between, it was a little bit newer, it was a little bit smaller than what we have right here, but it just wasn't the time, like she said. And we were blessed in the sense that we planned and saved and strategized to then 3 years later, because things kept going in a positive direction, that we were able to move forward on something like this. Yeah, so I forgot about that.
So what do you see in return? You paid X number of dollars for the house. This is what you got in it. Now you're going to rent it. You're obviously looking to recoup some of that money.
You asked the question of how renting it out plays into how does that look for us. Now, the renting portion, being a former real estate agent myself, I can appreciate looking at a property as an investment. You can look at a property as your own, where something will maybe offset some of those costs. So it's not so much an investment, but you're offsetting some of that dream. For us, it's kind of a combination of both. It's long term, our goal is not to be renting it, because our long-term goal is to be here for most of the year. After we're able, with our business and things, be able to be retired. And when that happens,
We're not old enough yet.
yeah. And when that happens someday, this will be our primary residence. So in the course of,
So we're in it for the long game.
yeah,
right?
really the long game, but the course of us is to just offset some of those costs, and everybody can play their own financial strategy with it. For us, the primary goal is to pay this off as quickly as possible. That's our goal with everything, and then that's us personally. Some people find value in having tax deductions and different financial planning, and all of those are right decisions. Our right decision for us, based on our past history of the ups and downs of the world, have been, we're in the process of taking any gains that we can get anywhere down the line, and that goes towards paying the property off, just like we've done with other things that we own. It's
so the ultimate goal then would be to pay this property off, sell everything back in Wisconsin to be here for retirement forever, or go back and forth.
Go back and forth.
But Amy kind of went like this, and Chad kind of went, well, I don't know.
Well, I think right now, kind of other than coming down here like a week, like right now, it's really, we're here for 3 months in the winter, and we're up north for 9 months in the winter. Well, you can maybe see those things flipping, and maybe not 1 for 1. Maybe it's not 9 and 3 the other way, but eventually I would like, my personal goal, and we have two different things. She likes the shoulder seasons, as we call them up north. She likes fall, she likes spring, and then summer, but she really likes those fall and springs. Well, I would just love to leave north Labor Day, and I'll come back Memorial Day.
One of the things Laurie and I have talked about a lot, because I think if we bought a house here, we'd probably just from a financial standpoint, we probably have to rely a little bit more on somebody renting it and paying that back, because we're not quite to a point yet in our life where, you know, we can plop down the money to buy a house here without renting it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you worry? So when you're not here and you look at the portion of money you're going to get back from making rent money, renting the house, does it plague your brain a little bit when you say, you know, what are renters going to do to our place? You know, is this going to be, are we going to lose value because we have somebody, you know, in here partying it up every night and trashing our place out? Is that, any of that ever go through your mind? Or
Only when you ask me.
that's why I asked.
No, actually, you want to know what? No, because I could drive myself crazy. But you know, there's rental places around here, and most of the time people are coming down here to be on the water and to fish and to kayak and to paddleboard. And, you know, we're not inside the house that often.
Mm-hmm.
We're mostly outside. So we come in to sleep and maybe cook, but there's an outdoor kitchen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not worried about it.
And I think the
Just
clientele and the dollar amount that it requires to come down here and rent a place like this probably weeds out a lot of that in the first place.
Yeah, there's going to be exceptions to the rule,
Sure.
but that part of that process of feeling comfortable with doing that is finding somebody you feel like is going to represent your property and manage your property for you, that you're going to feel good about them doing that job.
Yeah.
And part of that job is holding the renters accountable for knowing what the rules are. If there is any complaints, they deal with them in a timely manner, and they inspect the properties afterwards. And so I think that's part of the process, is to trust. If you've done your homework and you don't just blindly put somebody in trust of that, but you know, Amy interviewed people very hard, and the people we chose were the ones she felt were going to manage and care for the property as to that extent, right?
Yeah, and you know, and the way that this house is set up, it's set up for families with kids. You know, we have the bunk room there, and
When we did the
Yeah.
walkthrough, that's one thing I said on we haven't even edited that piece of the video yet, but I was like, this is perfect setup.
But yeah, I mean, I guess we've heard horror stories.
Yeah.
Everybody's heard horror stories.
Oh, yeah.
People will say there's horror stories about specific weeks down here, mini week or opening lobster, and people are crazy. You know what? I think you hear the bad stories of like that small percentage of bad experiences. But otherwise, you know, you think about yourselves and us, and we've rented VRBOs and things like that. I mean, you go down there, you probably leave it pretty well. The cleaning people probably come in and go, "Oh, this is not so bad."
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah. We always
And,
clean
and
up.
you're right.
Really
It's the
good.
clientele you deal with,
Yeah.
and I think your property management companies have a pretty good grasp on that by this time to get the right people.
And the thing about property management companies, and this would be good for people to know if they look at owning, there's not only one or two property management companies down here. So competition is fierce. So they have to do a good job, else you just go choose somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's
Without a doubt.
from a clientele or from a consumer standpoint, that's good.
What kind of lease or contract do they make you sign up with, as far as the company that manages their property? Do they make you sign a long-term contract that they will do it, or can you get out of it pretty easily, quickly?
Yeah,
if you need to.
well, at least the people that we chose, there was no long-term contract. It was basically during the point you want us to do this, and I think that's one of the things you kind of liked about them. It was like, we're going to do a good job, that you're going to want us to continue to do a good job for you. And if there's some point you're not happy, they would just want to be able to finish out the rentals that they had, kind of a deal, and there'd be some transition there. But no, there's not I've never felt locked into anything.
Right, and that's good.
Yeah. This house is built above flood zone. It's built to Category 5 new code standards. And quite frankly, my insurance on this property is not barely more expensive than my home in Wisconsin.
Really?
because the risk is low here because of how it's built. Now, some of the single level homes and things, I mean, now you have to rebuild to more current codes. And so when the builder built this house, they built it to the new codes. And after looking at homes through that process, the first question you ask is, how much? The second question you ask is, how much is the insurance? You know, people buy properties where we live, and they always ask, how much are the utilities? How much are the, you know, I don't remember ever asking that question. It was always, what's the insurance?
Well, if you got to ask about the utilities, you probably don't have enough money
Right.
to buy the house in the first place.
But what was
was
one of the properties? It was like, we saw a house, a single level house. They redid it after the storm.
It was beautiful.
It was fantastic. I was really just, it was charming. It was
Everything about it, from the second you walked in the door, it was awesome. In fact, we both really liked that house, even maybe more so than this house. But we just couldn't buy a house that wasn't on stilts.
And it wasn't because of the insurance amount. And the insurance amount was higher. And I think it was probably total, all the insurances on that were getting close to $16,000 a year. Was that right?
Yeah.
You know, $16,000 a year for all the, you know, your flood, your wind, your all those fire. And it really wasn't the dollar amount. It came down to, do we want to have to go through that? Because our thought process at the time was, it's not if it's going to happen again, it's when it's going to happen again. And so that's where we kind of ruled, you know, in the hotel when we were down looking at homes, we kind of ruled out, we really like that house. There's a lot of things that, and price was really better on that than this, but it was not up to, it wasn't on stilts. So it didn't have to be built at Category 5 hurricane codes. We just said we want to at least be above flood, you know, be on stilts.
So I'm gonna add one more thing. When we were going through the process of looking at homes, you want to talk about the price of a home and the value of a home. We looked at I think we looked at 14 different houses. And I will say that there was homes that were much more expensive than this, but you walked in and you would say, well, the kitchen was built in the 80s and the bathroom is gross, and so you'd have to do this, you'd have to do that. So then you have that price, and then you have everything on top of it, where you really would, I mean, if you're gonna have a nice place, you really have to really consider redoing a lot of things. And that's why this house kind of checked all the boxes for us, is that because we live in Wisconsin, we also didn't want to have to come down here and be remodeling and doing projects every single time we
Which I
came
hear
down
is a
here.
real pain in the ass down here.
Yes.
I mean, mainly from a time perspective, not to find the people to do it. And
I think that's an issue too.
But the time.
Yeah.
And when she's talking about like having to redo things on homes, some of that is personal decor preference, but there's things like, to me, it just didn't make sense that there were literally $1 million properties that had windows that cranked out like they were the slatted window.
Jealousy windows.
We're real familiar. That's
We
what's in
live
our
with
place.
those. Yeah.
So-
What are they called?
Jealousy windows.
So I was shocked. And maybe that's just because where I'm from. I mean, obviously in the cold winter climate, we don't have that type of a setup. But I saw that and I thought, all the windows in this house need to be replaced. They would just have to for me to want to live there.
You know, we learned something interesting on that when we moved in that house. That house was built in 1958. They're all original windows in that place. Now I'm sure they've replaced the plates that go across those jealousy windows, but I did some reading on that because it's ridiculous. They don't even seal. You know, you roll them closed, but I mean, bugs can still crawl up between the plates.
Lizards.
We get a lot of geckos.
Yeah.
That
You
kind
can
the
just
screen
see
is on
there.
the inside in front of the glass, you know, so if it has screens left in it. But I read something kind of cool about that. Those are some of the most durable windows in a hurricane because what they do is they crack them during a hurricane. They'll vent them, which vents the
makes
whole
sense.
house, and they say it's the air pressure, not the wind, the shear force of the wind, but the difference in air pressure in the house when those winds are kicking 100, 120, 130 miles per hour, those jalousie windows act like a giant vent for the whole house, and it keeps the house from basically, would it be imploding or?
Well, I think
it equalizes the air pressure.
Well, in tornado zones, they tell you to crack some windows.
Yeah.
And probably for the same reason.
And you figure that house has been there since '58. There's no telling how many hurricanes it's seen, and it went through Irma 2 years ago. And other than normal damage you would expect, windows were in good shape.
Yeah. And you know what's funny about, if you know what I mean by Florida decor, you know the like the travertine tiles and stuff like that. You see the old Florida decor, you see modern, you see really all different kinds of stuff. So where you come from in the country, some of it's going to seem strange, and some of it's going to seem cool. It really just is. I mean, each of his own.
I do want to say that that was a conversation that we had, and I'm like, do we really want to buy a home down here? But it's kind of a trade-off, right? There's lots of things going on weather-wise in all areas of the country, so you just never know, right? Could be out wildfires in California and earthquakes and tornadoes in the Midwest. So snowstorms in the north. It's just all a trade-off.
Well,
Advice to
this house was built by the builders, and that it was kind of the builders lived in it initially after they finished it. So there was no permitting there, but we put in a boat lift. The boat lift people did all the permitting. We put in a pool. The pool people did all the permitting. The only thing I did personally was put in the fence, and I followed what I was supposed to do with the city and permitted. That was no big deal.
So no big deal.
No.
We hear bitching about that down here all the time.
It's-
Can't get anything done. Can't get anything done. But you feel differently.
No.
No, I think that there's some challenges which are. I would say that some of the challenges could be two ways. It could be self-induced, and/or they don't make it easy on you. And it's just the process, and you either vote to change the process, or you just get in line and go with the process.
Gotcha.
You know.
So how you play the game?
You're being
that's all.
really kind of Pollyanna about it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, what do you do? I mean, you can say you don't agree with it, but that's the policy, that's the process.
Yeah.
You just do it. You know, it's. I mean, how would you describe it?
It's a long process.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a long
it does take. I
There's
mean,
people that have been waiting for permits for a long time for
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah.
but I mean, for the stuff I did, now the boat lift. If somebody's coming down to buy a house and have a boat lift in, figure 3 to 4 months, because you got to get a permit by the Army Corps of Engineers. There has to be, and again, I just kind of know the generality of it because the boat lift people did it all. They put the plans together, submitted that went in, they came back, then they got to go to Marathon, and the Marathon takes those approved plans from the Army Corps of Engineers, and then they, I don't know if you call it reapprove them, but approve it on their level, you know, so, yeah. But I mean, for me, like the permitting that I had to do was the fence, and they had a specific PDF on the city website. Here's what you need to bring in. Here's what here's the drawing, here's the whatever. And there was some confusion on what needed to be brought in the first time. You could interpret one thing one way or the other, and I just had to redo it. Brought it in and put the fence in, called for the inspection. They came and inspected it. That was kind of the end of it.
Cool.
From that standpoint. But yeah, I mean, from being builders, when we used to build homes, permitting down here is night and day. It takes forever compared to what we did back home. Yeah, I agree with you on that. But all those other permitting things, I didn't have to deal with them. That's somebody did it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So when you hire a contractor
Yeah.
to do
They
that
take
for
care
you,
of
they take care of it, and then you just kind of
Yeah, I mean,
do
that
that.
they should know those ropes, and that they take care of that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. So how did you choose your contractors that you chose to do projects like the boat lift and the pool and things like that?
Chad does a lot of research. So, interviewed a lot of different boat lift people and pool companies. And I think you talked to 7 different pool people. And there was one specific kind of pool that we had to put in. We had to put in a concrete pool. And a little shout out to Dennis Cooley right around the corner.
Yeah.
I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give them a 10. They were great from start to finish.
Yeah.
So.
And logistically, the reason we had to put a concrete pool in instead of a fiberglass pool, or is that the right term? But yeah, fiberglass pool, was basically the area that we had to put it in combination with the layout I wanted it. I could have put a fiberglass pool in there and dropped in. There was one company that specifically had one that would have fit, but it would have been just about the size of just our main swimming area. It wouldn't have had that, as they call it, a tanning ledge, or I call it the toddler area, you know, those chairs are.
Right.
So to have, there were other fiberglass pools that you could have a pool with a tanning ledge, but everything was too big to meet our setbacks. Because in this little Venice neighborhood, everything is very, very tight. So that eliminated some contractors right off the bat, because not because they didn't do good quality work or anything like that, just the square peg didn't fit in a round hole.
Yeah.
But we went with Dennis and his installation crew, Keith and Keither.
Those guys are great.
And we weren't even here. We weren't even here when they put in the pool, but our neighbors would call us and they would just rave about how clean the job site was, how they would show up. They would work hard, clean job site, in and out. Nice. Just
And
great.
That's
Support to us.
That's extra important in this neighborhood because there's not extra room to have a mess be over here. I mean, you kind of have to work and clean at the same time, or to keep things organized, because there's just not a lot of room. You know what? There's so many people out there that they're scared to try, and that's not a bad thing.
No.
That's just in their heart. Their risk is not a pill that's swallowed at all. For some people.
No.
And there's some people that can swallow that pill quite easily. Now, those people can fall on their face, which I have.
Which we have.
I mean, fall on my face, busted all my teeth out, and busted my nose out, theoretically. So when things happen good, they happen good.
And you get better and you learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Learn how
want.
to keep your teeth the next time around.
Well, Amy calls those falling in your face learning experiences.
I'm done learning. I'm done learning.
I call it pain, and I learned that I don't like pain.
Right.
And I get better at avoiding it.
So I want to be very clear about something. This isn't. It's not easy. I don't think it was easy. I think that we've worked really hard to get to where we are, and we've made some calculated decisions. And part of it was that we're in this for the long game, and the rental part is very important, just because it helps ease the financial stress. I'm going to just be, if there's financial stress, but then again, you have to make sure that you buy something that, if there is no rental opportunity, you can still maintain, right? So, yeah, you just have to, you just gotta be, you have to make, calculated risk is important, right?
It is.
Calculated risk.
And I mean, I could have loved to do this in my own brain, but it never could have happened if we didn't come together with, here's Chad's like wants and needs, and sometimes that gets muddied. What do you need or what do you want, kind of a deal. And I wanted a place on the canal. I didn't care about an ocean view because I didn't think I could. Knowing what I knew about pricing and things, that'd really be cool and really be sweet, but I just wanted a place in the canal with a boat lift. That was on my list. Boom, plain and simple.
And we wanted to be on the
Atlantic side.
Atlantic
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was actually a part of my enthusiasm. When we looked at houses, a couple of beautiful homes set up really nice, done gorgeously. That one done gorgeously on the Gulf side, and she, thank God, told our realtor, "This is great. This is fine. This is great. Chad loves this, but he does not." Her knowing me, she could see through my excitement, and he does not want to be on the Gulf side because of the type of fishing I do. Now I do fish on the Gulf, but I mostly
But you
fish.
prefer to be on this side.
And the fact that we're so close here to the Baca Cut, and so I can get to the Gulf if I need to get to the Gulf, but I'm right here. Boom. This is what I do mostly. So my thing was canal, put a boat lift in. It's either has one or I'm going to put one in. She
Because we
wanted-
had a boat that sunk.
Yeah, we had a boat in the marina and it sunk, floating in the marina, and then it wasn't. But she wanted, her list was simple. I want a pool. If I'm going to be down in the Keys, I want a pool. I don't think you've ever owned a pool in your life.
Nope.
This your first pool ever?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yay.
It was
And
my first pool
I've been in
ever.
the pool every single day for hours at a time. I love the pool. And you know what, like in the summer, I don't, like right now, had no anticipation of being down here right now because I thought it would be too warm. And it's been okay now, but I probably won't come back down now until we come back down in the fall.
You know the funny thing about the question that you asked about, is this attainable, it's really, for me, it was, this is the process we went through. What are your expectations?
Yeah.
If you lay out your expectations and what you're trying to achieve, what's your goal, what's your expectations of that goal, does it seem like it's within reach? Well, put a plan together. If you both can get on board with that, which we did.
I don't want to be insensitive to the fact, though, that it's a problem. Affordable housing down here is an issue. It's a huge
It's an
issue.
oxymoron. is what it
Yes.
is.
Well, so
Yeah.
so I don't want to be insensitive to that at all. So
Yeah.
so
Well-
when we say that it's accessible and super attainable, I don't think it is for everybody.
Well, you know, when I
Really,
got
don't.
that question, the last piece of that question, they asked the question, this is not, they said, made a statement, this is not accessible for the average person. Houses down there are astronomical, something like that. This is just a dream. Period. And what is it you two do for a living? Well, obviously they hadn't watched our channel very long. They didn't read our bio. And I almost felt guilty writing back to them, well, we're school teachers and have done our whole life.
Yeah.
Well, everybody in the country knows what school teachers make.
Right.
And I thought to myself,
But you did it.
if I can do it, if we can do it, and we don't own a house here. I'm not saying that this is ever going to work long term for us or not. We don't know. But we just decided to make a plan and take step one.
That's
Yes,
get here.
that's
is
the thing.
important.
Is you decided to stop, in some cases, making excuses.
I did. Yeah, she did.
And you can just keep putting up those roadblocks on yourself. And there's other people on YouTube down here that we've all talked about that they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And they left this job, they did this is what we're doing now.
That's why people love watching this stuff.
Yeah.
They literally do live vicariously through somebody else. But, we watched a lot of YouTubers that were down here. Jody and Jess we were on their channel forever. And same thing. They came down from East Tennessee. They moved down here. They had a plan. They executed their plan. And bam, Irma hit and about washed them out. And they're still here and they're still doing it. And, you just got to make that first step and get out. And I think so many people right now, especially at our age, they're sitting around going, well, this is life forever, wherever you are.
And
And it's not. You just get out there and make it happen.
Yeah. And some will, some
Sometimes
won't.
that's easy to say, but
It
It's
is.
not
It's
easy.
always, it's always easy to say.
right, you have
But
you have
just
to have
do it.
opportunity too. So
Yeah, true. Well, Chad and Amy, thanks so much for sitting down with us tonight and sharing this with our viewers. I think everybody's going to enjoy this, and we really appreciate you inviting us into your home and doing this for us. So thanks
This
so
has been
much.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, guys, join us next time on Gables on the Go. We hope this was useful to you, and we'll see you next time on our next episode. See ya.
See ya.